Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Janna Vallabha Giri Bharadhari. Jaya Gopi Janna Vallabha Giri Bharadhari. Jashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Jashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Gopi Janna Vallabha Giri Bharadhari. Jaya Gopi Janna Vallabha Giri Bharadhari. Jashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Jashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayam Vishnupat Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Ashtotara Shatashimat, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Granthara Shrimad Bhagavatam Ki Nitai Gaura Premanandi. Oh, glory to the assembled devotees. Oh, glory to the assembled devotees. Oh, glory to the assembled devotees. Oh, glory to Shishi Guru and Shigoranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, the Summon Bonam, Chapter 60. Lord Krishna teases Queen Rukmini. Text number 1. Actually, before reading the verse, I'd like to read the summary, the chapter summary, written by the Bhaktivedanta Putras, Srila Prabhupada's disciples. This chapter describes how Lord Krishna provoked anger in Queen Rukmini with joking words and then consoled her, thus demonstrating the opulence of lovers' quarrel. One day, Lord Krishna sat at ease in Queen Rukmini's bedroom while she and her maidservants attended to him in various ways. Rukmini always responded to Sri Krishna's moods, wherever they may be. On this occasion, the Lord looked at Rukmini, whose beauty was faultless, and began to tease her. Quote, previously, many wealthy kings worthy of you in their appearance and character wanted to marry you. In fact, your father and brother intended to give you in marriage to Shishupal. Why then did you accept such an unsuitable husband as me, who is whose once who once renounced my kingdom and fled to the sea in fear of Jarasandha? Besides, I transgress worldly morality, and because I own nothing, am dear to the other paupers. Certainly, the well-to-do will not worship me as such. Will not, sorry. Certainly, the well-to-do will not worship one such as me. Quote, when a man and a woman share the same social class, influence, physical beauty, and so on, marriage or friendship can flourish between them. But out of short-sightedness, you have accepted a husband who lacks every good quality and is glorified by beggars. Better you have married some prominent warrior, then you may have been happy in this life and the next. Your brother Rukmi and kings like Shishupal all hated me, and it was only to cut down their pride that I kidnapped you. But as such things as body, home, wife, and children, I'm indifferent to them, being the self-satisfied personality of Godhead, transcendental to all material affairs. End of quote. Sri Krishna stopped speaking, having destroyed Queen Rukmini's confidence that she was her husband's favorite. She began to cry, and soon she became stunned in extreme fear, pain, and sadness, and fell unconscious. Lord Krishna saw that she has misunderstood his joking, and thus he felt compassion for her. He picked her up from the floor, caressing her face, consoled her. Quote, I know you're totally attached to me. It was only out of eagerness to see your lotus face adorned with a frown that I teased you. To joke with one's beloved is the highest enjoyment for householders. End of quote. These words dispel Rukmini's fear of rejection. Seeing that Krishna has spoken only in jest, she said, quote, what you said about the two of us being mismatched is actually true. After all, no one is equal to you, the omnipotent master of the three principal deities, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. End of quote. Rukmini went on to show how everything Krishna had said, denigrating himself, was actually glorification. Lord Krishna then spoke to Rukmini with deep affection. Quote, I did not intend to agitate your mind with my joking words. Rather, I wanted to demonstrate the strength of your chastity. Anyone who prays to me for sense gratification and happiness in family life is simply deluded by my illusory energy, Maya. Such a person will take a low birth. Ordinary woman with corrupt desires cannot possibly worship me faithfully as you have done. At the time of your marriage, you show no interest in any of the royal suitors. Rather, you send a Brahman, a messenger for me. Thus, you are certainly the most beloved of all my consorts. End of quote. In this way, the Lord of the universe, Sri Krishna, took pleasure in joking with the goddess of fortune in her form as Rukmini. And in a similar fashion, he fulfilled all the duties of a household holder in each palace of his other queens. Text number 1. Sri Badara, oh sorry, we don't have the board. We just came back from a Lord pilgrimage between Naperville and New Vrindavan, so just came back. And so we don't have the board. So my apologies on behalf of my wife to all of you. So if you have your telephone, you can read. You got it? You got it, Bible Bro? 1061. So Canto 10, chapter 60, text number 1. Let's wait for Vaishnava Sarananda. Good news also. Tonight, His Holiness Chandramauli Swami will be here with us for 3 days. No, you just come the two together and you read together. Just for reading. Sri Badarajanir Ubacha Karhichit Sukan Asinam Swatalpastan Jagat Gurum Patim Parya Charat Vaishmi Vyajadena Shaki Janai Sri Badarajanir Uvacha karhichitsukan ashinam swatalpastan jagat gurum patin paja charat vaishmi vyajanena shakhi janai Sri Badarajanir Uvacha Karhichit Sukan Asinam Swatalpastan Jagat Gurum Patim Parya Charat Vaishmi Vyajanena Shaki Shanai. Please chant. Sri Badarajanir Uvacha Karhichit Sukanashinam Swatalpastam Jagat Gurum Patim Padya Charai Vaishmi Vyajanena Saki Janai. Sri Badarajanir Uvacha Sarkichit Sukanashinam Swatalpastam Jagat Gurum Patim Parya Charat Vaishmi Vyajanena Shaki Janai. Sri Badarajanir Uvacha Karhichit Sukamashinam Swatalpastam Jagat Gurum Patim Padya Charai Vashmi Vyajanena Saki Janai. Sri Badarajanihi Sukadeva Goswami, the son of Badarajana, Vedavyas. Uvacha said, Karhichit, on one occasion, Zukam, comfortably, Asinam, sitting, Swa, on her, Talpa, bed, Stan, situated, Jagat, of the universe, Gurum, the spiritual master, Pating, her husband, Paryacharat, servant, Vaishmimi, Rukmini, Vyajanena, by fanning, Sakhi Janai, together with her female companions. Translation and purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Sri Badarayani said, once in the company of her maidservants, Queen Rukmini was personally serving her husband, the spiritual master of the universe, by fanning him as he relaxed on her bed. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti poetically notes that in this chapter, Rukmini Devi is like fragrant camphor, crushed on the grinding stone of Lord Krishna's speech. In other words, the lovely, chaste qualities of Rukmini will become manifest as a result of Lord Krishna's apparently insensitive words. Just as camphor's fragrance becomes manifest when granules of camphors are crushed by a grinding stone, the Acharya further points out that Rukmini is personally serving the Lord because he's Jagat Gurum, the spiritual master of the universe, and Patim, her husband. Om Gyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Ummilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Rompada Swami Iti Namine. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirveshesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So the last chapter we heard the narrations of Krishna um, interactions or relationship with Queen Satyabhama, and also um, how Krishna also rescued 16,100 princesses that were kidnapped by Baumasura, and he brought them back to Dwarka as queens. So two things. One is the natural sort of psychology that manifests between co-wives. Obviously, we don't have much experience of that because, in general, um, the the arrangement in this modern world is that you have one wife. Although there's some cultures that they have many wives, co-wives, but there's a natural sense of uh, competition in one sense because you have to share the affection in one in, and the time and all that. So there's a sense, okay, if the arrangement is that you have co-wives sharing the relationship with the one husband, then there have to be some sort of equal arrangement, no? That there is a fair division, and that's almost impossible. And that's one of the things that we hear, how powerful and how expert Krishna was in doing all these affairs. And the way he was able to do is that he manifested 16,108 different forms. He expanded himself and was able to fully satisfy the natural desire of each particular one of these queens to have Krishna, all for themselves. It's a natural. There's a natural thing that love, when love manifests, is that there's certain possessiveness of the beloved. So now that's there. So there's a natural sort of competitiveness, and we hear in the past in the previous chapter how Queen Satyabhama, she expressed that very clearly. If you are true, she said in her own words, if your words are true, when you tell me that I'm your favorite, then you have to give me this parijata tree. So she demands And so imply is that, and she also say, I want to be the most glorious among yours queens. At this time, there was 8 principal queens. Satyabhama wanted to be the favorite, the most glorious ones. And the situation that prompted her to demand this is when she saw that Rukmini, so there was this very special um sense of competition for Krishna's attention between Rukmini and Satyabhama. Um, Rukmini was the first queen, and Satyabhama was the second queen. And then it came Jambavati, and then so so when Rukmini received the Parijata flower, it was gifted to her, and she had that flower adorn her hair, and it was such an opulent, beautiful gift that just enhanced uh, Shrimati Rukmini Devi's opulence and beauty. Satyabhama Devi became manifested this pastime of jealousy. So she wanted a Parijata flower too. And Krishna understanding that, then he say, I will take you to the heavenly planets. Anyway, he had business to do because we know that Indra came to ask for his help. So he had business to do in the heavens. So he's gonna kill this demon and then take the stolen goods from the heavens. So he is taking Satyabhama Devi with him. And we know the story. He defeated the demon. He took all the stolen goods and went to the heavens. And then Satyabhama Devi sees the Parijata tree. But Krishna said, why a flower? Understanding her heart. She wanted to be the most glorified. So why one flower? I take the whole tree for you. Actually, she desired that. She wanted, oh, there's a tree. That tree will look very nice in my palace, in my garden. So, Krishna, please take the tree. And Krishna said, sure. It's true. Why taking a flower? Just take the whole tree. So, Krishna took that, planted in the garden of Satyabhama Devi. And then not only that, but he brought another 16,100 queens. Now, Rukmini, her mood was always, she would be ever disturbed with Krishna. There was no sign of, if she feels, something, she won't ever manifest that type of displeasure. Her mood is always to be perfectly submissive to whatever Krishna does. And then same thing, not only by Krishna glorifying, and you can imagine that um, Satyabhama Devi was manifesting all this opulence, and now she is being um, favored by Krishna with this magnificent arrangement that only her has. So her desire, she wants to be the most glorious. But Rukmini Devi, she didn't show any displeasure. Different mood than Satyabhama. When Satyabhama just was one flower, she shows her displeasure. Rukmini, nothing of that nature. Nothing of that nature. So Krishna wanted to tease her, to bring out her protesting, becoming angry. So, there is certain psychology too that the acharyas explain that there's these two elements that are necessary to balance in a relationship, especially in a conjugal relationship. That is the element of predictability and the element of unpredictability. And they both have to be balanced. When you have predictability, there's security. Things are settled, and you don't have to fear some crazy thing happen or something. You feel settled, you feel secure when things are predictable. So it's necessary to have that sense of predictability. But if it's only predictability and there's not something unpredictable, because unpredictable part brings some sort of a sense of diversity, variety. It's like uh, explain that it spices the relationship. It creates different flavors, different moods, things like that. So it's interesting, it's exciting in one sense. You go through different flavors, different rasas, different moods. But if it's too much of this or too much of the other, then the whole thing becomes disrupted. If it's only predictability, then it becomes, it becomes there is a lack of excitement, or that type of thing. And if it's only unpredictability, then you don't know, you don't feel secure. So Krishna wanted to taste, this rasa of something different with Rukmini Devi. So he teases her with the purpose of make her angry. But the result was something different. So, she didn't become angry. She just was overwhelmed by the fear of losing Krishna. And she fainted with that mood. So Krishna pacified her. And with his words, Krishna was able to restore on her the sense of security. So when she was assured that no, 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 Krishna won't leave her, then we're gonna hear in the past tense that she showed anger. So she sort of with that type of mood, angry, she talks to Krishna, respond to Krishna. So she was able to manifest that anger in service to Krishna, to please Krishna, because Krishna wanted that. But only when she feels fully secure that Krishna was not going to leave her or something like that. That's what the acharyas explain. We're going to hear to that. There is a Srila Jiva Goswami in the Gopal Champu. He explains that um, there is the same moods that are manifested between Srimati Radharani and Chandravali are the same moods that are manifested between Rukmini Devi and Satyabhama Devi. We hear from Srila Jiva Goswami that all the gopis of Vrindavan, they're expanded and manifested as the queens of Dwarka. So Shrimati Radharani expanded and manifested as Satyabhama. And Chandravali expanded and manifested as Rukmini. And then we hear that these 16,100 queens, they're expanded from the unmarried gopis that desire Krishna at their husband during the Katayani Vrata. You know, remember that chapter. So the mood of Shrimati Radharani, Satyabhama have the same mood, and Chandravali have Rukmini have the same mood of Chandravali. So there are Shrimati Radharani's mood is uh, is explained by the way she thinks. The way she thinks is Krishna is mine. So that Srila Rupa Goswami describes that mood as Madiya Mayi Bhava. So it's a bhava, it's a mood that Krishna is mine. And Chandravali, her thinking is, I am Krishna's. So you see the difference, you know. One is have this possession of Krishna, the other one is I belong to Krishna. And Chandravali's mood, as per Rupa Goswami, Srila Rupa Goswami, is Tadiya Baba. You know, when we say Tadiya, means that there is paraphernalia. You know, is something that belongs to, that is attached to. So, so Srila Rupa Goswami goes on to say, Srimati Radharani controls Krishna, for she is known as Swadhina Bhartrika. And this mood can be divided in two types. When out of love, one humbly asks Krishna for something, is called Maitri. When asking Krishna for something becomes secondary, is called Sakya. 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 So, Chandravali has Maitri as a prominent mood. So again, Maitri is when you humbly ask Krishna for something. So it's always this sense of dependence and submission. So Chandravali has a prominent mood, while Radharani has a mood of Sakya when the asking is secondary. So, and then the way Srila Rupa Goswami uh, described this is Radharani can order anything from Krishna and he will carry out. So it's not really, she knows she controls Krishna. So Srila Rupa Goswami say Srimati Radharani doesn't even need to ask. Or even if she's asking, but she's not even need to complete what she asks, Krishna will carry out her desires. So the asking becomes secondary. to Srimati Radharani's desire. Srila Prabhupada said, Radharani can order anything for Krishna and he will carry out, even if she doesn't finish asking or even if she doesn't ask. Chandravali can order, but she have to tell him what she wants. So that's some of the differences. So Srila Rupa Goswami says, therefore Gaudiya Vaishnavas are Srimati Radharani's devotees under the guidance of Rupa Manjari, who is Srila Rupa Goswami. If one does not submit at the lotus feet of Rupa Manjari, he will not be able to serve Srimati Radharani. There's something else that I want to read for you in terms of that describe these moods as per Rupa Goswami. Let's see here if I find. Okay, I read this. Radharani's mood is fiery. So you can, this is a comparison between Shrimati Radharani and Chandravali, but you can make that same comparison with Satyabhama and Rukmini. And in one sense is to get into the mood of Shrimati Rukmini Devi and see how, regardless, both are glorified because of the pure devotion for Krishna, and it's just they provide different flavors, a variety. Krishna as a rasa raj to provide Krishna's enjoyment. So the whole focus of these glorious concerts of Lord Krishna is that they only existence is to provide Krishna with pleasure and satisfaction. So Shrimati Radharani mood is fiery. So she doesn't always accept what Krishna does, and she looks like she is rejecting him. She rather becomes angry and refuses to see the Lord. Krishna is so much in love with her that in every way tries to appease her. Lalita Devi supports Radharani's moods and pushes her not to accept anything Krishna does. Otherwise, Lalita says, he will be out of control. In order to control the Lord so he doesn't make Radharani suffer, the gopis, headed by Lalita and Vishaka, chastise Krishna and tell him what is the right thing to do. So that's the mood of the less-wing gopis. Chandravali mood is different. She's deeply surrendered to Krishna and accepts whatever he does. And her Sakis do. So she also have, the right-wing gopis who just as her enhances this mood of surrender and being submissive to Krishna. Seeing Radharani's and her friends' mood, they cannot tolerate to see Krishna confronted and sometimes chastised. They say Sri Krishna can do whatever he likes, so they criticize Radharani for this. See? For them, it's horrifying that Shrimati Radharani and her Sakis are confronted Krishna and chastising Krishna. They, it's like horror. So they criticize, Shrimati Radharani. Sometimes you see that. You can imagine, if someone is being loose and sort of demanding or pushing some elevated personality that you worship, say a spiritual master, then you become horrified. What is this some cultured persons doing, like that? So you naturally, you will say like that. So that's Chandravali's followers. Already separated by a difference of mentality, and also seeing their dearest friend Radharani criticized, Radhasakis are in constant battling mood against Chandravali and her group. So, on the other hand, Shrimati Radharani Sakis, when they hear Chandravali's group criticizing Shrimati Radharani, they cannot take it. So they're very upset about that. And the the difference in this area becomes, there is a pastimes of Srila Raghunathas Goswami, who is a manjari in his, spiritual form. So he served, Shrimati Radharani as a manjari. So uh, one time he received some milk. Someone brought some milk to Srila Raghunathas Goswami. So he asked the devotee, "Where is this milk coming from?" And the devotee answered, "From the Shakishtali, which is Chandravali's place." And Srila Raghunathas Goswami, just by hearing that it came from the Shakishtali, he just lost it. So he became so angry and said, "I will never accept anything coming from Chandravali." So that's their mood. So, but it's explained that Shrimati Radharani is the greatest of all devotees because she can offer all this diversity of, of moods that give pleasure to Krishna. Shrimati Radharani can manifest this complete submissiveness to Krishna as well as, give Krishna, control Krishna by her moods. Krishna have to sometimes bow his head to her feet. Shrimati Radharani. But Shrimati Radharani can also manifest this mood, like Lord Chaitanya eh, explains in the 8th Shikshastaka verse. Asli Shyava Padan Ratan Pinastuman Adarshanam Marmahatan Karotuva Yata Tatava Vidadatulam Pato Mat Prananatastu Saivam Naparaha. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he should remain so, even if he handles me roughly by his um, by his actions, or even if he's trample me by not being present before me. He can do anything and everything, for he's always my worshipable Lord unconditionally. So that's, she manifests her mood. So her sentiments are explained that are more deeper and stronger. And naturally, she is the greatest. Um, she is the topmost of Krishna's devotees. And the fact is that all these different gopis from Chandravali to the queens of Dwarka, to all the gopis, they're just expansions of Shrimati Radharani. Just as Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan Krishna, the source of everything, the Shaktiman or the Avatari, the source of all these manifestations, Shrimati Radharani is the originally pleasure potency of the Lord, the internal potency of the Lord. And for her, so all these different potencies expands. So, so this is also manifested in this Dwarka Lila. in the forms of Shrimati Rukmini Devi and Shrimati Satyabhama Devi. And so this is a very sweet pastimes in which this very special mood of submissiveness and dependence and surrender to Krishna is manifest by the actions of Srimati Rukmini Devi and her reactions. Any comments or questions?
Um, Thank you for class. And my question is: there's a verse in Bhagavad Gita that speaks about one being completely free from sex desire. It's like the goal of life, be completely free from sex desire. Okay, so these pastimes of conjugal love with the gopis and Krishna are supposed to help the living entity to attain to that level, right? So I was wondering if you could maybe say a little something about how we are properly to take these pastimes, because there's so many wives and so many loving exchanges, and then for the living entity, it seems that he's supposed to go in the opposite direction. And Prabhupada says this word love is only applicable with Krishna, and we're supposed to make Krishna the supreme goal of our life. So I was wondering if you could maybe share a little something about how we navigate.
Yeah, the way our acharyas help us navigate with that is by telling us, don't even come close to listening to Krishna's intimate pastimes if we are still afflicted by sex desire. So, um, therefore, the Rasa Lila pastimes are very intimate and very concealed. And when we get entrance to that, it's in a very, very controlled way and very carefully monitored and guided by our Vaishnava acharyas. Otherwise, it is we're warned, don't come to try to absorb yourself and to expose yourself to the intimate presence of Krishna with the gopis before going through the whole 9 cantos of the Bhagavatam and understanding Krishna's position. So in reality for us is to be focusing on Krishna's position as the supreme controller, and that we ought to fully surrender to him. So we always been warned about that. Prabhupada was very strong. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was very strong about it. To and you know because they're sweet pastimes, we are naturally sort of inclined to hear more about it. But the part that the warning comes is because we afflicted by our own, egocentric way of seeing things, then we filter those past and through our own um, lenses, and to our own condition. And therefore, yes, it could be it could be dangerous. It could be, you're thinking of Krishna in a mundane way, and sometimes we see how distasteful when people speak of Krishna, like he or the relationship that Krishna have, like regular relationship. Oh, uh, mommy, or that type of thing. I mean, although those things are there, to depict it in such a um, sort of the mundane experience that we have is not it's a little dangerous, because that's what we naturally will have. We know, we bring it to our level of understanding, and not is nothing like that. It's nothing like that. It's something that we not necessarily have the experience of. The experience of this world is that there is there's some interest that need to be fulfilled. There's some need to be fulfilled, and so there's an there's a self-centered thing that needs to be fulfilled. We don't know what is a relationship in which the only object of fulfillment is to give pleasure to Krishna. So it's a complete different thing. It's a complete different. When there is the mommy, or there is honey, or my love, and this and that, it's not even close. I mean, it's a perverted reflection of what we have here is a perverted reflection. But really, unless we do it through the careful guidance and from the words of the acharyas, that they remind us, although Krishna is doing this, he is the supreme controller, and they remind us of those differences. So we have to be careful. People pro.
Hey Krishna Prabhu, I really like the classification that you put between Satyabhama and Rukmini, and that the mood of Radharani is the internal potency of Krishna. So this mood of submission is also present in her all the other moods that she has towards Krishna. And I was remembering the pastime of Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami, in which Radharani comes and gives them this sweet rice, and then they take it, but they Rupa Goswami uh, rebukes Sanatan Goswami that you should not eat this, because we are supposed to give to Krishna, render service unto Radharani. We are not supposed to take. And but the sweet rice is so good that they, even though they are rebuking each other to not taste it, they are still eating it in the process. And for me, I would say for me, this taking, it's a phenomenon. This phenomena of taking, this is harmful to the soul. Like, if we pray to Krishna that Krishna give me this. I think for devotees, the way Acharyas has told us to pray is that if you so desire, do this. If you so desire, then that your will be done. Your will be done. So for us, even though that we are followers of Srimati Radharani, this mood of submission would seem to be more prominent. That we want to become an instrument of their mercy, and what they want us to do, we will do, instead of this taking thing.
Yes, yes, that's a very important thing. Uh, but by Shrimati Radharani's mercy and Radha and Krishna's mercy, we've been given, we have the opportunity to enter into a much more intimate space in which these varieties and diversities opens, in which the reason there is this mood of submission is because we understand Krishna as a supreme, we worship Krishna as a supreme Lord. But um, when we enter into a realm in which Krishna is just your most beloved object, the, 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 the greatest of all objects of love, and then you don't know that Krishna, you don't see Krishna as God, you see Krishna just as that. So then it opens to a much greater diversity of moods and exchanges. So we see with the acharyas, like the exchanges, say Sanatana Goswami, Krishna, say, give me some salt, and say, I told you, they have these exchanges, it's more intimate. You know, if Krishna says, just give me some salt, you will go nuts, just going and finding salt. you know. But Srila Sanatana Goswami said, eat your chapati, your dry chapati. It's all I have. I told you already. Then Krishna had to manifest his own arrangement to get some salt. So the merchant got stuck and etc. So, yeah, but it is important for us. And Prabhupada say, when we worship Radha and Krishna. Kishore Kishori is Vrindavan Krishna, you know, in their very youthful, small boy and girl in Vrindavan, but we worship it as Lakshmi Narayan in awe and reverence with opulence, because we have to cultivate first that mood of surrender and submission. So we are more, you know, taking that type of mercy. We worship both of them, Radha and Krishna, and we pray to Shrimati Radharani to help us surrender to Krishna. And so both of them are bringing us to that, to Goloka Vrindavan. And hopefully, if we do the right things, following Srila Prabhupada and our acharyas on the line of Lord Chaitanya, we can get there. We can have entrance in Vrindavan, Goloka Vrindavan, and serve Krishna in whatever capacity. In reality, what is given to us is quite inconceivable, because it's just to become, to enter into the gopi, and we pray that to Shrimati Tulsi Maharani, and Lord Chaitanya gave us that mantra, Gopi Bhartar Pada Kamalayor, Dasa Dasa Anudas. So, I'm a servant of the gopis of Vrindavan. Right now. It's quite something. It's pretty inconceivable. But first, we have to, cover the ground of becoming free from all this stuff that we have, all these misconceptions and conditioning and unwanted things, and come to the position of full surrender to Krishna. And then Shrimati Radharani was, bless us through, as what Lord Chaitanya manifests, Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate. He gives us that. Yeah, but awe and reverence, that's our thing. There is something that my spiritual master is being emphasizing, that this awe and reverence not only manifests towards Krishna, but towards Krishna's, everything that belongs to Krishna, including Krishna's devotee. So, the future of growing and bringing our, our society of devotees into a next level is a culture of respect. So we have to develop this culture of respect, how we respect each other, not only Krishna and Krishna's paraphernalia, but also devotees. To embrace a culture of respect, a culture of accountability, and yeah, that type of culture. Sharshan, do you have?
Uh, you drew the distinction between the two personalities in terms of their understanding of the one seeing herself as belonging to Krishna and the other of
Krishna is mine.
the kind of possessive component. So, in this particular circumstance, the fact of Krishna trying to elicit a response that, he just, through the summary, it was read, what he expected to elicit was just a frown, a facial expression, not even words or mood. Well, I guess a frown could indicate a mood, but the interesting thing is Krishna making such an arrangement that would have Queen Rukmini, who is in that sort of given mood, actually perceiving rejection is quite interesting because one thinks even on like a simple level where one is not in that kind of or very distant from that kind of intimacy with Krishna, that some sense of being rejected could be Krishna's
Number
arrangement.
two. Yeah.
Yeah, that rejection could actually be Krishna's arrangement, or a sense of rejection could be Krishna's arrangement that, is part of his pleasure. So I guess through the pastime you actually see how she goes through going past that sense of rejection. And from the summary study, it was just that, there's agreement with Krishna's statement as opposed to opposing it or having opposition to it, which is what he's trying to elicit. So anyway, it was just making me reflect a little bit on that sort of difficult thing that Krishna's arrangement may appear to that actually is for his pleasure and his arrangement, that and requires a certain covering of a certain ground on one's own part. It may be that one is experiencing rejection.
Yeah. Well, one thing is that it's part of his lila, and in this level, everything is just to enhance Krishna's pleasure. So, and the devotee is so much in sync with that, this great, personality, Krishna's energies. So, with Shrimati Rukmini Devi, um, what the beautiful analogy that Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, brings, that she's like camphor, and if just to get the fragrance of the camphor by crushing it with the mortar, and then you have. Otherwise, it's a little stone, and it doesn't have a lot of. You cannot perceive the fragrance, but when you crush it, then it comes out. So, in one sense, Krishna wants with his pastime, and the pastime is to attract. The reason of the pastime is to attract conditioned souls and to give us also entrance to this the mood of love, the expressions of love of these, his eternal associates. So Shrimati Rukmini Devi, just by that thing, it just brings, exposes to the type of love that she has for Krishna, which is it's just like extremely beautiful. Um, there's another comparison that is done between Shrimati Radharani and Chandravali Devi. That Shrimati Radharani is like honey, and Chandravali Devi is like ghee. So they're very nice, and they're both used for bathing and glorifying Krishna. But there's differences. So both are very nice. Now, um, Krishna is just bringing out, exposing us to that, and then we see how the moods that because of her mood, the thing of rejection is her mood is that I am Krishna, but Krishna is telling me here that this is a mistake. So just that expression, brings this mood of that Krishna may leave. So separation, and with separation comes this devastation. Shrimati Radharani also experienced that. You remember the Prince Sarovar pastime, when just the mention of Madhusudana is gone, you know, the bee, Madhusudana, oh no, not Madhusudana, Madhu is gone. Madhu is gone. The cowherd boy said to Krishna, Madhu is gone. Just Srimati Radharani, just by hearing that, sitting next to Krishna, she just completely lost it. And she had this uncontrolled sort of reaction just to hear that. And Srimati Rukmini Devi, just to something that sounds like Krishna, this is a mistake, and maybe Krishna will leave. She just lost it, just out of that love. So it's basically what we being exposed here is that this inconceivable type of love that is there, the depthness of this love that is there for Krishna by this great personality. So it's very beautiful. So same thing, her experiencing rejected by Krishna in that level it creates these deep manifestations of love that for us is like rejection gives this deep manifestation of distress, depending of so it's quite something. Anyway, Karantara Shiman Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Thank you so much.